Hello. Oh, excuse me. Hello, everyone. We're going to trace out these in Illustrator so we can start adding colors to them. I'm going to start here with this one, so I'm going to need to first start a new document. And we trace these at 2 inches by 3 inches, so I'm going to start a print document, change units to inches. Have it 2 inches by 3 inches here. Don't worry about a bleed. I'm going to do 6 artboards. And I'm actually going to go to more settings. Go left to right and still do the 5 inches in between each one. Actually, 5's too many. Let's do 3. Don't worry about a bleed. And this one I'm just going to call it crop trace. And hit create document. And we should have our 6 artboards here. They're tiny. They're for the croppings that we've done. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to place all my croppings that I took previously and place them here. So let's do a file place. And I'm just going to go find those. And I'm going to grab all 6 of these. And they will fit right in here. And let me take these to move them back up. Now I'm going to work with my layers. Give myself a second layer. This one I'm going to name crop. The next one here I'm going to name trace. I'm going to trace out this first one here to show you how you can trace out the rest. So let's zoom in on that one. Now I'm going to lock my crop layer and move to my trace layer. Now before I start tracing, I'm going to want to take my pen tool and tear it off. So I have my pen tool, my add anchor point, minus anchor point, and anchor point tool that converts round shapes, and I'll show you how to work that. Now here when I trace, I don't want a white fill because I have a white background. I don't want a black outline because I have them traced around black pieces. So I'm going to get rid of this white fill. The background, or not, I'm sorry, the stroke or the outline I'm tracing with. I'm just going to pick that any color. I like using a bright color so I can see it as contrast against the black and the white. And then I'm going to trace around these dark pieces. And we can see we got all these little lines in here. All this is one piece. So I'm going to trace around the white. That's all just going to be one piece. There's kind of a curve there. I'm going to show you a little trick on how to make that curve. But for right now, just a straight line over the top of it. And you don't want to frustrate yourself while you're doing this. Just take your time. Take breaks if you need to. While you're tracing around these things. If you don't get that exactly around the get it exactly around the edges, you can always come back and adjust some things. Most of my shapes here have sharp angles to them, so that makes it pretty easy to trace. But if you have a lot of rounded angles, I'll show you how to get around that here momentarily. Get this little guy here too. Okay, so now we've got these little rounded areas and some of these places where I didn't quite get. So first of all, let's line up some of these that I didn't quite get. I'm going to grab my direct selection tool. And if I click on the path here, all of these anchor points turn clear, meaning I can grab any one of them and do something with them. So let's zoom in. And I want to take this, and I'm just going to use the arrow key on my keyboard and move that up. And the same thing here. Looks like we got a little bit of an arc there, so let's fix that. I'm going to grab my anchor point tool, and I'm going to click on the anchor point. And when I click and drag, you'll see it makes two lines wavy here. I'm working on the arc that's to the right of what I'm doing. So this one here, and I've got a curve there, I'm happy with that curve, but this one here I need to make this straight again. So I'm going to grab my direct selection tool. I'm going to hold down my option key, and you see I get a plus next to my direct select tool, and I'm going to click on this handle here. I'm going to drag that back to my anchor point, and that turns that straight. So let's do that again up here. Now with this one, I'm going to click on the anchor point, and I'm going to drag. And that's pretty good there. Nice little swoop. I'm going to grab my direct selection tool, hold down my option key, and just drag this one here back in. And actually, I'm going to keep going so I can get this curve here also. So let's do the same thing here. Anchor point. I'm going to click on the anchor point here, click and drag. There we go. So we've got that curve here, but we need this to be straight again. So I'm going to grab this, hold down my option key, and drag that back to the anchor point. It's got to make that nice and straight for me. Then let's clean this up here. I'm going to click on an anchor point. Let's zoom in because that one's awfully far out. Now I'm not using the trace tool, image trace, because it's going to try to trace all this little minutia, all these little tiny points in here. And when we go to blow this up nice and big, it's going to make it with a ton of extra anchor points that we don't need, and it'll choke your file. it'll end up being hard to upload this thing when you go to upload it later. So one, you use as few anchor points as possible, so that's less memory that the file has. I'm going to take this, I'm just going to use my arrow keys to move those in, and that's good there. We can see that the outer edge of this is fuzzy, so it's up to a little bit of interpretation. There we go. And let's get that one too. Okay. So we've got this one here all traced out. So what I want to do next is I'm going to draw a box around this. Draw a box around that, and I've got all my traces selected. I'm going to turn them into default, and I'm going to swap defaults right down over here. I'm going to swap the stroke and the fill. I'm going to get rid of the stroke, so I just have a black fill. And for the time being, I'm going to turn off my background layer, or my crop layer. I just have the trace. And one more thing I'm going to do, actually two more things I'm going to do. One is I'm going to put a white box behind this. That's the same size as my artboard, so 2 by 3. I'll grab my rectangle tool, click here, 2 by 3, hit OK. It's black right now, just turn it white. And for right now, I'm going to leave the outline. I'm going to put that right there. And it's covering on top because we drew it second. So I'm going to do an object arrange, send to back. I'm going to grab all of this and group it together. So I've got one of these traced out. I'm going to turn off this layer, trace layer, turn on the crop layer, and unlock it. I don't need this one anymore since I've got it traced, so I'm going to delete it. Turn it back on. That's what I have. And then what we're going to end up doing is going to go through and trace out all the rest of these, trace out the dark pieces and put a white box behind it. And delete the crop image once we're done with that. I'm going to stop this video here and show you how to set this up for adding colors to it.